in the Steel City. Is everybody ready to go? It's proclaimed the greatest radio show.
You are listening to The Spread. I am Jay Dash here in Greene County with RG2, our Steelers insider. And we are going to do part 2 of our, roster outlook from this offseason. Is that what you want to call it? Whatever you want to call it, I don't care. And we just did the offense. Go check that out if you want. And we're going to go over the defense right now. And we're going to start out with defensive end. I think they are pretty set at defensive end right now with Stephon Tuitt and Cameron Hayward on the outside there.
Definitely set, but lacking depth.
Yeah.
We're talking about the offense was easy, but I think this is going to be a little bit more interesting, and I think a lot of our draft is going to be heading in this route as well.
I'll tell you what, though, I was pretty happy with how that defense played last season. I mean, some of the passing numbers looked ugly or whatever, but they really didn't let teams in the end zone.
Yeah, and I hope they can continue that, and then just get better all around. Maybe letting up a little bit less passing yards, keeping the turnover ratio going. But this team is, they're a little bit young, and I like what they can put on the field right now, and I think they're going to add some more pieces to it. So, kind of excited about that.
So who do you like more, Cameron Hayward or Stephon Tuitt?
Wow, Cameron Hayward is he's your. Wow, that's a tough question, actually, now that I think about it, because Stephon Tuitt,
he's still very young. He's only 22 years old.
Towards the end of the season, Stephon Tuitt really came on, not just from a run-stopping standpoint, but he was creating havoc in the backfield. I do like Cameron Hayward a little bit more, but he has more experience. But I think they got themselves a pair there that they just need to keep now, and that's for the true 3-4. Those are two nice pieces to have.
Well, like you were saying before, they really, they're a base 3-4 defense, but what was the percentage you said? 30% of the time?
They were only in 3-4 30% of the time under Butler. LeBeau was a little bit more base defense and then mix out of that. They were in sub packages 70% of the time, which is 4 down linemen, 2 down linemen, 1 down lineman, 5. So it's really, I think, gearing towards the new future to the Steelers defense.
Oh, how about Stephon Tuitt? Is this a guy going to move into D-tackle sometimes?
Yeah, I think you'll see, there was times you saw Hayward as a 0, which is the nose tackle. You'd see him in a 1. You'd see him in a 3. You'd see him standing up. So, again, it's hard to say, true positions for these guys. But, in a base, there are 5 techniques. That's the technique for a defensive end in our system. But in the sub package, there were cases where Stephon Tuitt was coming off the edge. So both are pretty athletic. Both can play 1 gap, 2 gap schemes. Really, really good players to have.
Oh, what if one of these two went down? What do you do then?
Yeah, and again, lack of depth. You do have some guys on the roster.
You have LT Waltons on this roster, and Kashad Lyons are the other 2 DNs right now.
Yeah, and these are young guys, and they don't have experience. I do know LT Walton did play a little bit last year. I bet you he totaled probably 20 snaps. When I was kind of keeping an eye on him and watching him, he was getting – it didn't look good. But you know what? He was a rookie. You give him that rookie year. Stephon Tuitt didn't tear it up either. It took him some time. And as well as Cam Hayward. It wasn't like Cam Hayward come out and lit it up, but it does take time. You got to understand how to fight that pressure, still be able to read a play, pushing gaps, slanting. There's a lot of stuff. When to get the hands up, how to become a pass rusher, how to stop the run. That's a tough position to play. It is. And a lot of people think, it's in the trenches, But there's a lot of reading going on with these guys. They're extending their arms, trying to read the play, and trying to make a play. So. We're asking them to go get the quarterback, and we're asking them to stop the run. So we don't ask that out of corners, safeties.
Please believe it. Well, okay, so you're saying there's not a lot of depth here at DN. What about D-tackle, where we let Steve McClendon go? Lance McCullers is pretty much the guy right now, and that's really, really it at this point.
Yeah, Daniel McCullers is a big boy. And here's the whole thing behind the Steve McClendon thing. You can't put – and this is like this throughout the NFL. Back in the day, it was Casey Hampton. You put the money in there, he stopped the run. But you cannot, if you're only going to play it 30% of the time, how are you going to pay a guy $5-6 million a year? That doesn't make sense. So what they're looking at now are these hybrid guys like Tuitt and Hayward, who can play that 5 technique, And McClendon, think about McClendon. He was actually a defensive end that just put on a little bit of weight. So that was a guy they liked. He ended up signing for, I think it was $15 million. So it wasn't, and he's guaranteed $6.75 million this year.
I liked him and everything. Daniel McCullers, he's a weird size. He's 352-pound nose tackle, 6'7".
He's a big boy, and that's his downfall. Is his pad level gets high. It don't matter how big you are. But he's been getting better of just not getting. I saw him on the goal line this year, and he didn't get pushed around, which is a good sign. And if he's only going to be in there 30% of the time, that he's not going to get paid a lot. And he's not a sub package guy. So you're only going to see him first downs, short yardage, goal line situations.
Well, I think the most important thing with the Steelers defense over the past couple years has been stopping the run. I really think they're going to have to look at D-tackle in the draft, wouldn't you believe?
Oh, absolutely.
Even first round, possibly.
In the first 3 rounds, there will be a D lineman drafted, and I would, if there's not, then we're in bad shape. They did sign Levon Hooks is his name. He's a 6'4", 302-pounder. He played a little bit, has a little bit of experience, but he's just going to be a depth guy, and he might even be a practice
young guy too.
Yeah.
I mean, this team is pretty young when you look across the board here.
Yeah, they are. They're very young.
I mean, you take out James Harrison, and you got a pretty young team.
Yeah, and Timmons is getting up there.
Yeah, he's getting there.
Other than that, there's the veterans.
I mean,
are starting
he's
to go
still
down.
not 30 years old yet, though. That's Timmons. He's 29 right now.
Yeah.
So I mean,
he's considered the old guy.
You take James Harrison's 37, and then they have Sean Sweesham at 34 years old. We'll have to see if he even makes a team. Are we doing a special team segment? What about Sean Sweesham, man?
Who?
Well, he's going to be gone, I would be guessing.
Well, I mean, they said it's a good problem to have 2 kickers, which I agree, because you can see how important kickers are. But
you can trade one for a 6th-round pick.
Yeah,
right before the season starts or whatever.
I would like for them to do it before the draft, because we are, we're talking about needing depth players, and we're really lacking picks.
I see they did get a compensatory pick in the 6th round.
Yeah. So we have a 1, a 2, a 3, and a 4. And then we have a late 6 and an early 7 and a late 7. So that's kind of where we're at right now. Which, I mean, when you look at it, it is 7 picks. But, I still think there could be some possibility of them adding more picks by trading down or whatever. But we'll get more into that later. But the defensive line has to be addressed in those first 3 rounds.
I think if they stay healthy, it's great. But if there's any injuries there, then you got some serious questions.
Well, the Steelers are smart, though. And they're not done. I know that they've talked about signing a free agent yet on the defensive line. They did have, I think, a nose tackle in today.
Yeah,
from Tennessee, Mike Martin.
Yeah.
So they're still looking. They looked at that Jason Jones before he signed. They're going to sign a guy yet.
You almost have.
And don't forget, we signed guys after June 1st too. After all the June 1st cuts and people start to get cut, Steelers like to go after those guys because. You're not battling in free agency. Most of the rosters are set.
Right.
That's how Steelers run their free agency.
Well, we were talking about the draft here for a second. And speaking of the draft, linebacker. That's all we ever use our first round pick on, it seems like, is linebacker. How well has it worked out? We've had some hits and we've had some misses, obviously. Bud Dupree looks like he's a hit for sure. Bud Dupree looks like a beast.
Yeah, and people were kind of bashing Bud Dupree and because he wasn't that 16 sack guy, but when was the last time? I mean, look at James Harrison. How long did it take him to get into to be a starter at outside linebacker? They've done this for years. Yeah, he got cut by another team. Yeah,
the Ravens cut him. I think the Steelers cut him at one point too.
Yeah, and he was a special teams player for 5 years.
Yeah,
he was 28 or 29 when he took over. Jason Gilden. It was always you have to sit and watch and learn this position. It's a hard position to play. But for being a rookie and playing last year, I thought he did, a lot of good things. However, I'm still up in the air on Jarvis Jones. They didn't, they could have picked up his 5th-year contract. They didn't do it.
I think that one was a miss.
Yeah, they didn't do it. I really feel, like we're just not, I think this could be it for him. I mean, he's got to pull out double-digit sacks or he's going to be out the door. And this is, we don't even know if James Harrison's playing for sure. Feel like he is. They're giving him some time. I mean, he'll still be a player that and Arthur Moats as well.
Well, yeah, obviously Bud Dupree, he's going to be around for a while. We're going to let him stick it out here. James Harrison, like you said, we don't even know if he's going to play. And when he does move out, what do they have at outside linebacker then? I mean, you still have Arthur Moats. They just went and signed that Steven Johnson. I don't think he's in any kind
He's an inside linebacker.
Oh, he is an inside linebacker? I thought he was an outside linebacker, to tell you the truth. But after James Harrison, what are you looking at? Are we going to need to draft another outside linebacker here?
Well, I mean, you have Anthony Chickillo.
Chickillo, yeah.
Yeah, Chickillo. He has shown flashes.
He looked good on special teams.
Yeah, and I think he can continue to be a special team player. But I could see them drafting somebody. They've interviewed quite a few of them, some later rounds, even as much as the early rounds. They've been to some pro days, Clemson, and been to some pro days at Alabama. So they're looking at outside linebacker, but I don't see it being their first round pick this year. I really feel like you're going to see more snaps out of him, and I think Jones is either going to prove it early, or you're going to start to see his snaps go down. I think Harrison and Moats will take care of the other side.
Jarvis Jones, you're going to give him a chance to start the season and then see what happens from there, is what you're saying?
I wouldn't even say start. I'd say compete. Right now, I mean, if I had to go in today, Harrison and Dupree are my two starters.
Yeah,
and that's sad because, like you said, we used Jones as a first round pick, but unless Jones shows something, But I mean, he's under contract, and it wasn't like he killed us last year. He just didn't really produce much, and I will say he did better than the previous 2 years.
Yeah,
we talked.
Actually, didn't he do pretty well in the playoff game as well?
Yeah,
Maybe
he had a strip sack.
Games.
Yeah, he had a strip sack, and he showed some stuff, but it's not that first round ability. He looks more like a fourth or fifth rounder.
I tell you, who does look like a first rounder is Ryan Shazier.
Man, if that guy can stay healthy, we keep talking about these guys. We have Le'Veon Bell, Marquise Pouncey, and Ryan Shazier. If these guys can stay healthy. Oof.
Are you ready to say he's injury prone? Me and Jim always have this argument about this. Not necessarily that I say he's injury prone, but Jim wants nothing of it. He wants to hear nothing about Ryan Shazier being injury prone.
I think he's a smaller guy, so to get in there and thump every play, the smaller guy's going to get hurt more. That's just part of the game. And then you think about his speed too. With acceleration. You're going to hit with more velocity. So therefore,
tell you what, Cincinnati Bengal fans are acting like this guy is a nuisance, and all he does is hit people in the head because he hit, what was it, Giovanni Bernard or Jeremy Hill? One of those two. Giovanni Bernard. He hit him in the head, and now they're saying this is all this guy does is target people's heads.
Yeah, there was definitely not targeting there. He hit him with the shoulder first. Rolled up into the head.
Bernard turned around and got hit immediately.
Yeah, and there's no way.
Sense.
It was definitely not a perfect hit.
I hate Cincinnati. I don't even care.
And,
So you got Shazier, one of the middle linebackers. Like we said, Dupree, probably James Harrison, maybe some Jarvis Jones on the outside there. You're going to see some Arthur Moats. What about Lawrence Timmons? He's still a great player. He's on a contract that is not very team-friendly right now, though.
Yeah, and that's why, I noticed one thing this year. The Steelers have not restructured a contract yet.
Yeah.
Now,
they said a couple years ago they wanted to stop doing that so much because it was getting them in trouble.
Well, it does and it doesn't. It does if you're going to extend a guy. Like Ben, it doesn't hurt anything because, you're pushing money back. But if you extend Ben, what you're going to do,
right.
You're going to extend him at all costs till you feel like he's at his end. You extend him, and that takes that money away again. So you do that. But how much, are you going to extend Lawrence Timmons? Maybe, and this is why I'm saying that they might just have to pay him this year the $11.5 million that he's.
I thought it was 15.
I
thought he was the highest paid linebacker in football this year.
He might be on a his salary isn't, but for a cap hit, yes, he is. He's way up there. I mean, he calls the defense, but what you noticed last year when Ryan Shazier was healthy is on passing situations, Timmons actually come off the field, and Timmons used to be a athlete that was covering tight ends, but now it's Shazier. So.
Which makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It does. It makes a ton of sense. You get smaller.
So how long is Timmons around for?
Well, he's going to play this contract out, and it really comes down to if Timmons thinks he can make more money or he wants another big contract, it won't be with Pittsburgh.
You also got Vince Williams, Jordan Zumwalt.
Vince Williams has been tremendous for us, and I didn't think we'd be able to keep Vince Williams as long as we have so far. He's a starter. He's a starting linebacker. And people say, well, you're losing athleticism. I watched him make plays on the flats.
Is that Timmons' replacement?
And you won't miss much. I'm telling you, you're not going to miss a lot. Vince Williams can play football. He's a good tackler. He's a bigger guy. Really, if you're just looking for a big buck linebacker, and then on passing situation, Shazier's taking over, that's not a bad thing to have if Williams is going off the field on third down, because Timmons is now anyway. Timmons used to call the defense, but now Ryan Shazier is starting to call it. He's starting to make those calls, and that's value right there. You got to have a quarterback, because if your defense isn't set right, look at New England week 1. We didn't have stuff set right, and Gronk of all people sitting out there, nobody covering him.
I was going to say, if you don't think Williams can take over Lawrence Timmons' position, we might be looking at having to spend two more draft picks on linebackers here soon. One of the outside spots, if Jarvis Jones doesn't work out, obviously James Harrison's getting old. And here, if Lawrence Timmons goes, and we don't want Vince Williams as our starting inside linebacker long term, we're going to be spending some more picks on this linebacker position soon.
Yeah, either picks or free agency. But remember, too, that we have, we're a 3-4 team, so we have 4 linebackers.
Right.
So, we keep saying, well, we're doing linebackers, but that's 4 out of the 11 players are linebackers. So, you only got 2 corners. You only got 2 defensive ends. You only have 1 D tackle. So, when you got 4 linebackers on the field, you want the best 4 linebackers out there. I feel like their depth is still pretty good. They did lose Spence.
Yeah.
And then they just lost Terrence Garvin, too. So... but today they signed Steven Johnson. He's a special teams ace. Had I believe it was 11 or 12 tackles on special teams. He's an inside linebacker. Played for Denver and Tennessee. He's not a Vince Williams, but I think special teams wise he could be a great addition. And then you have guys that we haven't heard much about because our depth has been so strong for the last 4 years. Add guys like Jordan Zumwalt. Yep. Jordan Zumwalt has been waiting and waiting to get his opportunity. Here it is. And then another guy that not a lot of people know about is L.J. Fort. L.J. Fort showed a lot of stuff in the preseason. And now, being being the number 3 or 4 linebacker, maybe L.J. Fort's a 5th linebacker, but they still have depth there, and I'm not worried about it. They got three starters for sure right now at the inside position. I think outside's more of a worry at this point because of age and missing out on a
still
first round pick.
Still their strength, though, right? Linebacker's still the strength of the
Oh,
defense.
yeah. Well, and the D-line has been, with Tuitt and Hayward, you're starting to see them
that really helps
plays.
out the outside linebackers as well.
Yes, I agree. And I can tell you that the secondary, which we're going to talk about here soon, is not a strength.
Yeah, and let's start off with safety here. You have Mike Mitchell, Shamarko Thomas, Robert Golden, Ross Ventrone.
Ross Ventrone is a special teams ace.
I like Ross Ventrone. I don't want him in on defense, though.
Yeah, unless you're, if Ross Ventrone's playing safety, we're down 2 or 3 injuries.
And really, Mike Mitchell was a guy, his first year here in Pittsburgh, everyone was saying how terrible he was, and then Tomlin came out after the season saying he had, hamstring issues or something all season long, something like that, something wrong with his legs. And he did. He came out last season, and he looked better. But then as the season went along, people started backing off of him again, saying, you know what, he can't tackle that well. He just makes a lot of mistakes. He's not that great in the pass coverage. So he still has his problems as well. But are you happy with Mike Mitchell at safety?
I don't think he's not hurting you like he did the first year. There was a couple missed tackles, but playing a high safety, that's an open field tackle. That's a little bit different than an angle tackle. It's a hard tackle to make. He's a hard hitter. I felt like people worry a little bit when they go across the middle. You always got to think that he's there. He actually, created some turnovers, which was a good thing to see. I think he had 2 fumbles that he actually forced, and I think he had 2 interceptions as well. So I like him back there. I think he's a solid presence. Somebody could be better, but I don't think right now, in free agency and, to draft a guy to say he's going to be better, I really don't see that. So I feel like if there is a strength, that might be it right now, is that free safety position.
Yeah, they were talking about bringing in Eric Weddle here in the offseason, signing him, and they said he was going to take a pretty hefty pay cut to come in and play for a winning team. And he ended up taking a good amount of money, not really a pay cut at all, to play for a team that I don't really believe has a chance to win a Super Bowl, to tell you the truth, in the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, there was definitely money involved there. The Ravens are going to be better this year, obviously.
Just because you have Joe Flacco.
Yeah, you're adding Joe Flacco. It's like not having Ben all year. We wouldn't be that well either. But they're going to get they're going to get a good draft pick. I give them credit. I don't like them, but they're not the Browns. They'll rebuild quickly. They'll get back to their roots of playing physical football.
Yeah, I still have a lot of questions about that defense, though, man. It's bad.
It's not what it used to be, and of course neither are we. You lose
Right.
Polamalu, you lose.
But you also have Big Ben
Yeah,
compared to Jeff Flacco.
We're offensively gifted now. And our defense is on the rise, and I really feel like we're gonna couple holes, but we'll fill it in the draft here, and we'll be all right.
All right, so what are you doing at strong safety right now?
Well, right now, I mean, Robert Golden's your starting strong safety.
That's what I'd say too.
They've already announced that. Right now, it's his job to lose. I was really shocked with his coverage skills this year. I felt like he covered really well. He broke up some passes, had some picks, and he was playing behind Will Allen. Now, one thing I do got to say is they haven't signed Will Allen, but Will Allen's still available. So he could be a guy, if the draft doesn't go the way they want it to, the draft pick doesn't turn out good, he could be a guy like they did with Aaron Smith that year, where they let Aaron Smith go and then realized, oh man, we need Aaron Smith, So Will Allen could be back. I really highly doubt it. Seems like they're ready to move on, but right now, Robert Golden's your starting strong safety. Golden, Mitchell, solid, but definitely not in the elite category.
Shamarko not getting any play. You done with him?
I'm done with Shamarko Thomas. His problem, from what I've been hearing from the people in the organization, is he just doesn't have the football IQ to play this game. And back here at safety, you're rolling back and forth, recognizing, different things. He's out of position. Athletically, he has all the athleticism, but when you're in the wrong spot, or a good tackler, he can tackle, but you got to cover. You got to be in the right spot.
Terrible.
Defense is a game of, if you're in the wrong spot, you create a hole, and people will go after that. So that's just something that I feel like if he can't get that together, he's going to be out the door quick.
Jordan Dangerfield, Ray Vinipal. Anything?
Ray Vinipal was a pit guy.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say there's too much there. Not a real fan of either one of those. Jordan Dangerfield's been on the practice squad before. He's an undrafted free agent. He's made some big preseason plays, but nothing big. Now, they did sign this side. Jacob Hagan, I believe is his name.
Yeah.
6'3" guy, 205 pounds. He's a bigger guy. Might be something there. And he's a guy
from Liberty.
Yeah, that's a Division III school. So,
justice for all.
Yeah, but he's a bigger guy. Yeah, might have something there. But Steelers are smart. We were talking about the D line, and now we're talking about our secondary position. This year's draft is heavy in D line, safety, and corners.
Perfect.
So they know this going in. If it wasn't, Eric Weddle would have been signed.
Even for the money he got?
Even for the money he got. He would have been signed. They would have restructured Ben's contract. They would have signed Eric Weddle. They never go into the draft with a weakness if the draft is lacking that. They went out and signed Ryan Harris. Why? Look at the offensive tackles. This year's draft and offensive line is weak. You have Laramie Tunzel at the top, and then after that, it drops off. There is not very many offensive linemen. Defensive line's thick, but inside linebacker, it's not a real big draft there either. So, it's big at corner, safety, and D tackle, and that's why before they sign that position, they want to go through the draft process first.
Yeah, I'm definitely not happy with what they have at safety right now, though. They cannot go in the season with that.
And they won't.
At least bring back Will Allen, if nothing else.
And like I said with D-line, one of the top 3 picks will be a safety.
How about the corner position, man? This one's looking real rough to me. I mean, you brought back Ross Cockrell, which I like. You had to bring back Willie Gay. You had to do it, and they ended up doing that. Senquez Golson, the guy who got hurt last season, I think he's going to be a big part of this team. So you got 3 corners there. Dorian Grant, another one, maybe, possibly.
Well, and I've heard Dorian Grant's going to safety.
Safety.
So, if we're talking the safety position, before I got to corners, I did want to mention that. That was talk when they drafted Dorian Grant, was he could be a possible safety as well. So, he's a special teams guy, too. So, I think he's going to stick around the roster. I don't know if he'll actually have a position. I think he can do a little bit of both. So, that's something also to look forward to. And then we know there's our favorite, Cortez Allen.
Cortez Allen. Still around. Ugh.
I think he's still around. They asked him to take a pay cut. I didn't hear anything about a restructuring contract. So, one of 2 things is going to happen. If they cut him, it's going to be a post-June 1st cut.
Right.
Or they're going to let him battle it out again. He has been injured. But, about the corner position, it comes down to this. Again, one of the top 3 picks is going to be a corner. I really feel like corner, safety, defensive linemen are going to be our top 3 picks, and they're loaded. There are starters in the first 3 rounds.
I think you're going to be top 2 picks with this corner position. I mean, people wanted a complete overhaul of this cornerback position this offseason, and I mean, that's really not a real possibility, obviously. You can't go into the offseason and say, hey, we're done with all our corners. Let's bring in 6 more corners. It just doesn't happen like that. And I mean, Senquez Golson was going to be a guy they were going to give a chance to no matter what. But I mean, you couldn't just go into the season with Senquez Golson and try to redo everything else. And the way Willie Gay played last season, I think he's more of a number 3 corner, but he's one of the best in football.
Yeah, William Gay has always been a solid slot corner. But Senquez Golson is also, that's where they had him projected early on because of his size was a slot guy. This is kind of a nice situation. I know Senquez Golson was hurt, but they said he was involved with a lot of the mental part of the football game. He's been lifting. Unfortunately, he didn't get any taller. However, we're going into the draft, and if we take a corner in the first 2 rounds, we essentially have a second-round corner and a first or second-round corner. Right. So, are we getting younger? Yes. Did we need to add a free agent? A lot of people said yes, but adding Senquez Golson is like adding a free agent. Yeah, he lacks a little bit of experience, but his upside is supposed to be really good, and he's supposed to be able to really excel in man coverage as well as zone. So I'm really looking forward to finally seeing Senquez Golson play football.
All right, well, like you said, they have Cortez Allen. They're obviously going to give him a shot. They have this guy, Isaiah Frey. They have Alhaj Shabazz. How many corners do they need to bring in this offseason?
Well, these guys that you're talking about, they're looking for that, possible 5th corner,
right,
special teams guy, somebody that they can count on. Isaiah Frey, he has a lot of upside to him. The guy you just mentioned, Shabazz, he signed to a future contract. He was on the Buccaneers. He's a tall guy, 6'2", 180.
Yeah,
he had a lot of upside. I
actually see him listed here at 6'2", 200.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know. These heights and weights are always
right.
vary, but those 2 guys, this is where Bryce McCann and Antoine Blake came from. They came from the undrafted free agent world. So, you always want to try to find the next gem. Really don't know much about. Are you still looking at
free agency for a corner, or are we past that?
They will not sign a free agent corner.
So how many are you drafting?
Well, you have, listen to what we just said. You have Cockrell. Mm-hmm. You have William Gay.
Mm-hmm.
These 2 are locks to make the team.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, and then your 3rd corner.
Well, you got Senquez Golson.
And you have Senquez Golson. He's a lock to make the team.
Okay, so there's 3.
There's 3 right there.
Now you got Cortez Allen.
Yeah, well, that's what I don't know what they're doing with Cortez Allen. Obviously, if they cut him,
Doran Grant may stick a corner.
Yeah, Doran Grant may stick a corner. Those are question marks. If they keep Cortez Allen, they're only going to draft 1. If their plans are to cut Cortez Allen, move Doran Grant to safety, then they're going to draft 2. And they're in pretty good position to draft 2 corners. There's a couple guys in the 6th and 7th round we'll talk about, but a couple sleepers that could play corner for us. So I really feel like, and maybe one of these future contracts too could be that 5th corner.
Yeah, look at what Ross Cockrell did for him last season. He really came out of nowhere.
Yeah, you only need 3 corners. You really need to be 3 deep, solid. But but it's nice to have 4, and it's better to have 5.
You'd really like that 4th one though, because during the course of a season, someone's going to go down eventually, and you need that 4th corner to step in. Like 2 years ago, they had that Bryce McCain, like you were saying, along with Antoine Blake as their 3 and 4. And they play pretty well.
1 and 2, remember?
Yeah, you're right. But they played pretty well that season, and I wanted to bring them both back last season, especially Bryce McCain, and they were unable to or whatever. But I really think you need that 4th corner as well.
Well, in the corner market, when you started watching free agency happen, it's just too much money for the value. I mean, Bryce McCain's making $6-7 million a year. That's holy cow.
Well, who's that guy they got
already? Le'Veon Bell don't make $6 or $7 million a year.
There was a guy they signed Cortez Allen instead of
Keenan Lewis.
Yeah, and he hasn't really been that good recently.
He's been one of their better corners.
I heard he had a bad season last year.
He was. Patrick Robinson was. I'm sorry, he was San Diego. I think he was drafted by the Saints. But
he was.
Yeah, and they let him go, and their Saints defense is just struggling. I think it's and it goes to this too. Like, good coverage comes from good pass rush. So, solidifying that front 7 is going to help your corners, and I think getting better players in is going to help the corners too. So, there's 2 sides to it.
Does an improvement at the corner position this season hinge on Golson?
Well, I think Golson has to contribute. I think he has to contribute. If he doesn't contribute, now we're going back to what we talked about before. You have Cockrell,
Gay.
And then if you're cutting Cortez Allen, you better hope these draft picks are good.
So who's the sleeper on this defense? Is it Golson?
Sleeper of the defense. Well, I think Golson, and I was going to mention this, Golson was a good coverage guy. He actually, if you watched a couple of times, he was covering slot. So, when they went 4 wides, Golson was a coverage guy, and they actually still had 2 safeties on the field with Will Allen and Mike Mitchell. So, I mean, that's a great problem to have. Again, Steelers are going to upgrade their secondary. You might see 2 corners and a safety, or 2 safeties and a corner being drafted this year.
Plus a D tackle. Got to bring in a D tackle somehow.
Definitely going to bring in a D tackle, or D end, or both.
Is there anyone else you want to mention as a sleeper?
Dupree's not really a sleeper. I'm going to expect more out of him.
Jordan Zumwalt?
I don't think you can count him a sleeper because he's not going to be starting. Senquez Golson's the only one that has sleeper capability because he's going to be starting. Yeah, if Shamarko does anything,
make a couple tackles on special teams.
Shamarko puts me to sleep if that counts as a sleeper. So I don't really, Steelers have a great situation. For other teams, it's easy to pick sleepers because, they're starting new guys there. We're not in that situation. So maybe our sleeper will be one of our draft picks.
How about punter, man? Let's go over punter with the defense here because he hurts our defense. Because he's a bum. Jordan Berry. I hate this guy, man.
Yeah, we haven't had much luck with punters. And we traded Brad Wing last year for a 6th round, so they're really high on Jordan Berry. Maybe a year under his belt.
He is only 25 years old. It's kind of hard to hate on him already.
Well, and statistically,
there was 18-yard punts last season.
Yeah, there was some bad punts, but there was also some kicks where you went, holy cow. Yeah. So, and then we talked about the kicker problem. That's a good one to have, but
Boswell.
Swisham is counting 2.4 against the cap.
Yeah, and Boswell's cheap as hell.
Yes. So, to me, it's a no-brainer. Lacking draft picks this year, if Swisham can be traded for a 6th-round pick, you're not only getting a 6th-round pick, you're saving $2.4 million on the cap. So, that's all. You can sign a whole player with that right there.
So are they going to let up more or less passing yards this season? Are they going to get better in the passing game?
They are going to get better in the passing game. Yes, they're going to have better players out there to cover.
I tell you what, if they don't get to the quarterback like they did last season, though, they're going to get a lot worse in the passing game. Let me tell you. That's why these linebackers and these DNs are so important in this defense.
Yes, and I think and I still think they're going to maybe add a guy that is a situational pass rusher maybe later in the draft. Something we might look at him as like, how is a guy 240 pounds going to play outside linebacker? He's not. He's going to line up as a defensive end in a 4, and his job is literally go get the quarterback. So I think we need a couple of those.
And who's Montel Garner? Ever hear of him?
Did not.
D-back on the Steelers roster right now.
Never heard of him.
24 years old, 5'11", 188 pounds.
Oh, he's taller than Senquez Golson.
We'll see what happens with him.
Yeah, it's hard to say with any of these guys. That Roy Fallon, I do have to say that he's another guy that could be a defensive end. He was signed to a future contract. He has some playing experience, not very much. I think he's only been in the league for a year, but I think he actually got some playing time in an actual NFL game. They talked about him possibly being a depth guy. But yeah, getting to the quarterback is definitely going to be something we need to do. And honestly, we talked about situational guys. If the draft goes through and then come June 1st, you cut Cortez Allen, you restructure some contracts. What about a guy like Dwight Freeney? Just to come in on 3rd down and go get the quarterback.
How old is that guy now? He's got to be up there.
He's in his 30s, but we're only asking him to line up.
Right.
Put your finger down in the dirt. I don't want you to stop the run. I don't want you to read. I don't want you to, put your arms on the tackle and try to, roll them. I want you to go get the quarterback. And I think that'd be a great sign. A good sign because you're not going to break the bank, and you're getting a guy that has a motor, and maybe the motor's a little old, but to just go in on a passing situation, 3rd and long, 2nd and long, where you think they're going to pass and line them up at the end and go get them.
All right, so top 10 defense this season?
I
mean, in terms of points allowed, they were way up in the top 10 there.
I don't know if they're going to hit top 10. I wish they would.
It depends on what you go by, though. I mean, if you're looking
at
points allowed.
Yeah. I think they're yeah, top 10 in points allowed. That's still a good possibility. They're a bend, don't break defense. But I think they're on the rise, and I think they're going to get better. These young guys are starting to produce. Look at Shazier. He stays healthy. Holy moly. I mean, look at the turnovers. The plays he makes are, you
Real
just
quick.
go, wow.
A lot of people saying move him to safety. Dead wrong?
Dead wrong. His hips don't turn like a safety.
Yeah, I never wanted him there either. And as well as he played at linebacker, why would you even think about moving him?
And that's going to be a big topic when I address the draft. Is there are guys that the Steelers are looking at that are linebackers / safeties, and then there's safeties that are trying to play linebacker. It's different. It's different.
Yeah,
man.
who was
He
the
is
guy
not a
last
safety.
season? First round draft?
Deion Buchanan.
Nah.
Oh, he's a linebacker safety guy, but
Yeah, I can't remember who it was. No one cares. The only good player out of the draft last year was Bud Dupree. All right, so let's wrap this up, man. Done with offense. Go check that out if you want. Done with defense now. If you want to hit us up on Twitter, it's at bet_the_spread. If you want to hit us up on Facebook, it is facebook.com/betthespread. I hate both sites, so Jim will answer you if you hit us up there.
I won't answer you.